So this video, I'm just going to show you how to run the descriptive statistics for your demographics and your other participant characteristic variables, not the variables that you're using for your research question. So I'm going to go to the Analyses tab, and I'm going to choose Exploration. And I'm going to go to Descriptives. And so here, these might be closed when you open this up, but what it's going to do is it creates already this little table for us. And I'm going to start with my nominal level variables. They're going to have no meaningful information as far as like mean or standard deviation, but I do want to know how many people fall into each category. And so I'm going to use frequency tables. You can check that after or before. But I'm going to get the frequencies for sex, for gender, and then for this gender other option. And so here you can see that I have these blank spaces for mean, median, and standard deviation, minimum, and maximum. That's because this is set up as a text response. If you had your gender or sex coded as a letter or as a number, so if you did this in Qualtrics, for example, then you would actually see a mean there, and it's meaningless. Like, it would not make sense to have a mean of gender of 2.1 like that. What does that even mean? Nothing. So you should just unclick those. So go to Statistics and then unclick everything except for the N and missing. There we go. So you can see that I don't have any missing values for either of them. I do have missing values for the other option, and that's what should be there because not everybody responded to the other option. The reason I had you in class fill in your missing values for demographics is that unfortunately, Jamovi will just not include them in the frequency tables, and so then you get incorrect percentages because you don't have a percentage for missing values. So like you can see here that gender, there's a missing response right there, and so is that is then included in the percentages, which I want for my method section reporting. So if you do not do that, then you're going to end up with some missing up here, and you'll just have to recalculate this. One other note about the frequency tables is that you're going to report this percent of total. And so if you have it set to a different decimal point, like if you have it set to 2 dp, it's not going to show you two numbers after the decimal, and that's how I want you to report the number. So you will just make sure that this is set to 4 decimal points. I know it doesn't make sense because it's going to have 2 after it, but it's because it treats the percentage as a decimal. And so that's why it does that. Next, it's good to visualize. So go to plots, and you're going to do a bar plot. There we go. Now these are really simple variables. It's like I can look at the percentages to see what they are, but it can be kind of helpful to see how it breaks down. Jamovi doesn't make the prettiest graphs in the world unless you go into the RJ Editor Plus, which we will use later on. But you can kind of see how these are laid out a little bit. Not really. That's not super helpful at all, is it? But if it still might just show you that where there's concentrations of gender. This one's not helpful because this is just an open-ended response. So that's a nominal level variable. Next, you're going to go to exploration descriptives because you want to do a brand new one so that it starts a new setup for you. We're going to do our ordinal variable. So I'm going to move SES, which is an ordinal variable. Do not do a mean and standard deviation for ordinal variables. So I'm going to take off mean and standard deviation. The numbers that are here, like this median is 3, that's just referring to, if you double click here, that's just referring to moderate. So when you report the median is not 3, the median is moderate. That's the middle level. If I were to line everybody up by their socioeconomic status, the middle person would be moderate. And then the other way you can see that, and I can just click right back into this, is I can do a frequency table, and I can see that the middle person, because it's 54%, that's a big part of it, but the way that you look at this is you say, okay, the next one down is 22.33%. This one's 76.70%. And so 50%, which is where the median would be, is in between those. So that's how we know that's what that is, or it shows it in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So moderate is 3. That's our median. You can also do a bar plot if you want to. It just shows the distribution. Again, not the best graph. Thanks, Jamovi. But you can kind of see that's kind of interesting. You can also do a histogram. That's going to show it by the numbers. So this is by order. So we can see that most people are in the middle there. So that's interesting to see. Density plot's not super helpful here, so I'm going to stop there. Box plots you can do. It's not going to work. It doesn't always work as well for ordinal variables, so I don't think it's a big helpful one. Next, let's do our continuous variables. So for continuous variables, I have units, I have cumulative GPA, and I have work hours. These are the variables where the mean is meaningful. I can also get the median here. That's helpful to see if I have any skewness to my distribution. These don't look too bad, but we want to look at the actual graph to see. This one, work hours, looks pretty skewed. You're not going to do frequency tables. It won't even do it. So if I click on it, it's not going to do it. It's like you don't want a frequency table because that would show a percentage for every single response and people could have all sorts of responses. You could add percentiles if you wanted to. I don't think they're particularly useful for reporting that we do in our field, but you can always add percentiles if you would like to. And then I always visualize with a histogram and a density plot. And then I'm also going to do a box plot. You're not going to do a bar plot. That is not useful. But you can see there's a lot of information here. And then this shows units. We can see that people are like approximately normally distributed here. Units here, we can see that this is the box plot, and so we can kind of see where there are some outliers. Like there's one person who has way too many units at the top here. That's participant 83. That's what that number refers to. And then these people down here are not taking as many units. And that middle line that's thick, that's the median right there. I have other videos on more detail on that. And then this is cumulative GPA. We can see that it's skewed to the left or negatively skewed. So it's pulling the mean down away from where most people are. So people in this data set have a relatively high cumulative GPA in general. And then we have the box plot again. So we have some outliers who are low in cumulative GPA. Work hours, we can see that there's a lot of people, they're students, it makes sense, who are not working. And then we have people kind of spread out the rest of the way up to 40. And there's the box plot here. So we have a lot of people that are in that lower end for work hours. So that's how you do the analyses in Jamovi. And then I have separate videos that talk about how to interpret results. And that's it.